Welcome back to the Write It Down podcast at home edition. I'm your host, Brooke Murata, bringing you one-on-one interviews to challenge, inspire, and encourage. Up next, we have one of our fan favorites, Joey Miuccio, come back on the podcast, and we caught up on what we've both been up to this last year. He is training for his first marathon coming up, which you guys know I'm a huge fan, kind of marathons. I just ran my first one, and you guys were also supportive of that. So it was awesome to have him on here and catch up and talk about some of the goals for 2023. You know what to do. Sit back, relax, and get your pens ready because this is Write It Down. Super pumped to have you back on because I know a lot has happened this year in your life. And just we can fast forward through some things. But Joey, what would you say one of the biggest shifts in your life has been this past year of 2022?
I'd say where like my whole life probably changed this year based on like what I was thinking my life was going to be. I did go through a breakup, so I thought I was going to be living in Melbourne Beach. But since that happened, right now I'm in Vegas for the whole month. I'll be in Philly next month, and then I'll probably be in Miami or Tampa, or Tampa or Miami for like a couple months, and then I'll officially probably move to Tampa for a year, starting in like March.
Okay, so what is indicative of this? Like, what is making you choose these cities? Is it your job? Is it where you'd like to be? What's kind of making your move for you?
Yeah, my job. So I now fly for a different airline, and their base is Miami, Tampa, and Orlando. So I was gonna plan on moving in Melbourne and then just commuting over to Orlando, but it would just be easier to be in Tampa. Also, I need to get out of my small town of Melbourne. I've been there my whole life. It is a really good spot to be, like if you are settling down in a relationship. But if you're single,
Oh my gosh,
it's not
horrible.
the best to
It's a
be.
disaster. It's a disaster. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm like, all right, I need to get out a little bit. I need to like be surrounded by a little bit more people. I've always, seen Tampa as being a pretty cool town. Like, I don't really want to do Miami. It's a bit too pricey and there's too much going on. But Tampa's like kind of right in the middle, and it would be the easiest place for me to just drive to the airport if I live in Tampa or St. Pete.
Right.
So,
Well, it's so funny you say that because I say that all the time where like I love Melbourne as far as like my family's here. I have good community. You can build a lot for yourself here, but
yeah,
unless you're planning on like buying a home and settling down and having 4 children, like Melbourne is not the spot for people in their late 20s, early 30s because you're
yeah,
literally in this season where you're trying to cultivate something and something that we bonded over in our friendship early on and like on our first episode was the big dreams and surrounding yourself with people who want to pursue their goals. And I'm not saying that like having a family isn't a goal, but when you're around, and that's like my affinity for Nashville. Everybody knows I love Nashville. I'm literally going there next weekend. And
yeah.
shout out to Allegiant for doing those Melbourne flights. But what I love
Are
the
you going to move
most,
to that?
I'm
No.
trying. I'm trying. I'm in the works, to be honest. So I'm going out there for my birthday. And like my friends like, you want to do a birthday dinner this year? I'm like, no, I want to go to Nashville and I want to invite anybody who can. And if they can't, sorry. If you got kids, sorry, I'm going. So, but it's funny because when I was out there, I think one of the things that drew me to it, and it's kind of probably how you feel about like the Tampa Miami narrative, is like LA has a lot of opportunity for like the job industry I want to go in, but it's just so everybody goes there to be somebody. Whereas like
Yeah,
Nashville still has that like southern like hospitality. It's big city, but it's not like too loud like LA. So, but it's awesome. What drives me to that city specifically is being surrounded by people who are visionaries and there's just more of them. So I totally understand what you're saying by like Melbourne's just not it. It's maybe when I'm 45 or 50. I
exactly.
don't maybe not even then.
I
But
I could definitely see myself going back to Melbourne
yeah,
at some point for sure. But
100%.
yeah, I need to get out at some
Yeah,
point, and
I
I feel
feel
like
you.
now time. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do Tampa for like a year, and then I think I'm gonna do Colorado. Actually, I have a bunch of
Really?
friends now in
Nice.
Denver, in the Colorado area. There's just like a huge group of like fitness guys out there that I'm friends with now, and I want to get into the like trail running, and I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
think I could like be super happy there for like a year or two, but I
Right.
I, I don't see myself there
long
long
term.
term.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And now's the time to do it. And speaking of just your fitness journey, I've seen some things on your social media about wanting to be more of a well-rounded athlete. So you've really
Yeah.
gotten into running. You are still lifting a lot. So talk to me. I have a huge affinity for running.
Yeah.
As many people know, I ran the Chicago Marathon. So tell me a little bit about your running journey. What has that done for you? Has it helped you mentally? You said you went through a breakup. So what does that kind of look like for you?
Yeah, for sure. I think just having a goal is so important. And for a while, I was just lifting and just kind of going through the motions. I was always, pushing myself hard in the gym, but I didn't have like a specific goal. So now having the whole marathon goal coming up in February, and then I'm going to
Okay,
do
so you
one.
are running a marathon.
Yeah,
Okay, what
yeah,
marathon are you running? I didn't know that.
the Publix one in
Oh,
in Melbourne.
heck yeah. The
Yeah,
Publix Marathon. Yeah, I know exactly that one. Yeah.
you should do it. You should do it. Are you are, like have you been
Maybe.
running?
It's
It's pretty close call. Like it's February 12th, so I mean, you would
I would
kind of
need
have
to
to.
like go back and run. See, I
Yeah,
met this guy. You would appreciate this. I met this guy on my flight to Chicago. He has
yeah.
run 170 marathons to date.
Oh my,
He has
that's
an
insane.
Excel spreadsheet, but now we're buddies. Like we text, like he's like my running like friend because it's a very small margin of people that actually like kind of take it serious. Like I'm not the person that's like just trying to walk or wear like a tutu at Disney, like no offense, but I'm also
Yeah,
not like trying to qualify for like a ton of, whatever. So I like him a lot, but he told me that you basically just upkeep your training. Like, so once you're done with your marathon in February, don't just stop. Like try to
oh,
keep your mileages up. And I'm like, there's no way, dude. Like I've been training for 6 months. Like I just don't ever want to run again. But I am
yeah.
super proud that you're running. Is this your first marathon?
This will be my first, and then I think I'm going to do two more this year. So yeah, I'm going to keep on running for sure. I already signed up for another one in San Diego, and then I'm going to do
Oh, San
New York
Diego.
City.
Okay, so you're
So
gonna do the New York City one.
yeah,
Nice. Okay, I heard that's like insane. That New York is like absolutely nuts, but it's a thing. Like I think Ashton Kutcher just ran it. I think
yeah,
like some big names run it, but there's a girl that I met in the Chicago Marathon, and she had just come back running London the week before, flew to Chicago to run this one. And I'm like, wow, like I wonder what it would be like to actually be like a marathoner. So you have to let me know how it goes next year when you're on
yeah.
the podcast. Just
We'll
let
see.
me know.
So how many have you ran?
I've only run one. So I trained
Oh,
for one 2 years ago, and then I got in a car accident and couldn't run it like that next month. And then two
dang.
years after like rehabbing and running a half or so, I trained for the Chicago one. And I would recommend doing Chicago. Like
Yeah,
that is an awesome, like it's just a great city in general. And there was 45,000 people that ran it. World
dang.
records were being broken. Like it was a really cool one. But no, I'm proud that you're doing this whole running thing because you can hear people all the time, especially probably in your world with like lifting, that like it's so bad for your joints. It's blah 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 blah. And I think if you train properly, like there's a lot of value in running.
For
Um,
sure. Yeah, it's totally different push. Like I don't know, it's been good for the mental just to be like it makes you very present, especially like in the gym. I'll do a set and then I'll look at my phone. I'll do a set. I'll look
100%.
with running, especially when you start getting into these higher mileage, weekends running 10, 12, 15 miles, you're running for 2 hours.
It's
So you're just
insane.
thinking about whatever you need to think about, or you're listening to music or listening to a podcast. It makes you very present, which is nice. And it's just a new challenge. So
Yeah. Good for
I'm
you.
enjoying.
What is your goal time for your marathon?
I don't know. New York, I want to be sub 3, but that's tough. That's tough. That's gonna
I
be
was
really.
trying to be sub 4 and I just couldn't do it. Like I did not stop running. Like I was like around 8:13, like my first, like for the half. And then
Yeah.
I just like my legs, like, oh, it was horrible. I don't mean to like
Yeah.
discourage you, but I think you can do it. But so what do you want for this Publix one?
The Publix one is going to be just like a learning experience. I would love to get sub 330 or maybe definitely sub 345,
Okay.
but I'm just going to kind of use this first one as a learning experience. And also, if it's super hot in
Yeah.
Florida,
Yeah. It's not,
and
that's it's horrible.
it could be really bad. It could be really really tough. And then San Diego, I'll get a little bit faster than New York. Hopefully, I'll be the fastest I could possibly
So
be. But
when is San Diego's? It's like in the
uh,
middle.
yeah, I think it's somewhere in the summer, like May, I think.
At least it's nice out in San Diego during the summer. It's not like humid Florida. Wow. Okay,
Yeah,
I could probably talk to you this whole episode about marathon training, so we will keep it rolling
yeah,
for the sake of you have other things going on in your life. Okay, so you said that you switched jobs. I happen to know which one it is because we have mutual friends, and I was giving him crap because I had a flight with them from Dallas, and our flight was like 3 hour delayed, and I'm like, you're making me miss the Miami Dolphins, Jake, but it really wasn't his fault. So tell us a little bit about Frontier Airlines, Joey.
so I like it. Like, yeah, I was just talking to my buddy about it. Their customer service is the worst part. That's where I feel
It's
the worst.
horrible.
So many people talk smack about Frontier because of their customer service. Other than that, their crews are good. Like you have good flight attendants, you have good pilots, you have brand new planes. Like we have some of the newest planes out of any fleet out there. We're getting brand new planes every single month. But customer service is everything. So they need to step it up there. But I was with Delta's regional, flying a different jet, and this one is way more fun to fly. It's more automated. There's much more space up in the cockpit. It's just better overall, and the quality of life is better here as well with the Florida bases. I mean, right now in Las Vegas, it's a little bit rough, but once I get back to Florida, I'll be driving to work. So that was my main reason to switch over was to have that ability to just drive to work.
Right. Okay. So why Vegas? Is this just where they have you kind of stationed at the moment for Frontier?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, all
Okay.
the new guys just kind of get what you get. You get the scraps, and not many people want to live in Las Vegas. So this is the most junior base, and Philly. So like half of us got Vegas, half of us got Philly. So I'll be in Philly next month, and then I'll be moving my way to Florida. So you basically have like a list of places you want to be based, and I have Tampa's my number one, Orlando number two, Miami number three, Atlanta, Philly, Vegas, and I got you know my last pick basically,
Yeah. Wow.
and then
That's
I'll
awesome. They're so
slowly
good
get
to their crew.
yeah. Well, it's just how it is when you're the new guy.
Yeah. No, I hear
But
you.
eventually, yeah, you can get. I mean, here's actually also way better for that. Like if I worked for Delta, I mean, the best I can get is Atlanta. So I'll have to commute the rest of my life, but it would take me way longer to get Atlanta at Delta than it would be for me to get Florida at Frontier
At Frontier.
because it's a
Right.
smaller pilot group. Yeah. So
Do you feel like you've reached like where you want to be? Like, do you just want to be a commercial airline pilot? Do you want to do, private jets for whatever, billionaires one day? Like, what is your overall dream or pursuit with being a pilot?
I think just commercial airline pilot, and then obviously I'm a first officer, so I sit in the right seat. So eventually, I do want to upgrade to captain.
Okay.
You get a good pay rate there, so that's nice. But yeah, I don't really want to do private. Being private is cool. You usually make a little bit more money being commercial rather than private, and your schedule is a little bit more flexible. Like every month we get to bid for something that we want. If you fly for some billionaire, he's like, "Hey
I
Joe,
need you now.
I need
Right.
you right now."
Right. Like my family wants to go to Spain. And you're just like, okay,
Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
no,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay. So do you ever want to do
Like
like the big, what was that?
I'd rather have like a schedule that I know
A
of,
life? Yeah.
rather than just being yeah.
Right. Do you ever want to like fly the big Airbus 350s to like Korea and do like those big international trips, or do you want to just stay domestic?
Mostly domestic. I mean, Frontier does do some international. We might get some XLRs, which will go to maybe Europe or Hawaii. But
Yes.
honestly, I've been flying this last trip. I've been flying from Vegas to Orlando, and back 5 hour flights. That's long enough. Like
Oh, I know.
I
Like
don't I
I've,
don't want to do
I
like
know.
12-hour flights. Like 5 hour flight, I'm like, get me on the ground. I'm over
Right.
it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't understand and same with like flight attendants. I could never, I almost died going to Japan and then down to the Philippines. Like it was so long. And I don't
Yeah,
know how people do that like on the regular. I mean, granted, you probably get compensated for it, but that's just not, it takes a
yeah,
special person to want to do that. Maybe somebody is just escaping their life from
yeah. And it's
that sounds
brutal. It's just
absolutely horrible.
it's brutal on your sleep schedule too, which is not good for your health. Like that's my main concern. Like the first thing I'm going to ask for on when I bid for my schedule is to avoid red eyes, because my last trip was like we flew from 1:30 in the morning. I got to my hotel like 9 a.m. Then I slept all day, and then you're trying to go back to sleep, get back on a normal schedule. It messes with your circadian rhythm. You're not getting much REM sleep. It's not good for your recovery, which I like fitness and being healthy and stuff like that. So I want to be on a normal schedule, fly
Yeah.
during the day, go to sleep, live a good,
Right.
healthy lifestyle.
Well, and it's not conducive for marathon training. And I'm telling you, I was so like my body was torched after training and then going and running that marathon. And like, granted, I know that like I'm not built like a runner. Like there are people that were just built for running. So I have to do like my
Yeah.
legs move like literally short and choppy. And so I can't even imagine flying, or maybe not even red eyes, but just flying in general, and then having to go train and do high mileage because those miles rack up. And before you know
They
it,
rack.
you're literally running 20 miles on a Sunday, which
Yeah.
is over 3 hours, and then your body is just aching. Your toes hurt, like every part of every like nerve hurts in your body when you're running that much. So the fact that you're able to
Yeah.
sit down even for 5 hours after you've done some long runs, or and you're supplementing with like lifting and cross training. I barely touched barbell running. It was horrible. But you did
Yeah.
mention earlier that that you went through a breakup. So can you tell the listeners a little bit about that? What happened in your like in your mental life, in your emotional life? Like how are you feeling post all of that, and how has that shaped the goals that you have coming up next?
Yeah. So yeah, definitely changed my life, in terms of like where
Right.
I was going to be living. But yeah, it was my first real relationship, my first long-term relationship. We were together for 3 years, and then things didn't really plan out. They ended a little bit weird. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I still have the same goals. I've always been doing the same thing, flying, doing fitness, stuff like that. But now it just changes a little bit on like where I'm gonna be living and stuff like that. So I mean, either way, I'm pretty independent, and
Mm-hmm.
we're long distance, so I still have like my whole own life going on. So
Right, right.
nothing's really changed in like my goals. Just in, I was like saving for a house, thinking that we were gonna move into Melbourne. Now I'm like, screw us. I bought myself a nice truck. I bought a boat. I'm like, all
Buy
right, I'm
myself a
just gonna
country.
go.
Like I'll be by myself.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I was
yes.
like, you know what? So I'm just gonna treat myself a little bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was tough, going through that. Honestly, it was
Mm-hmm.
really, really tough. Like I don't know, relationships. You do become dependent on that person a little bit. In your normal day, like you want to share good news with them, bad news with them. You go to them for
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, all the little things. So it's a little bit weird trying to adjust back to being fully happy and being full in yourself, because you do kind of there becomes a little bit of a void that you need to fill.
Right.
I don't know if
Right.
you've been in any long
Yeah.
relationships,
Well,
but it is kind of
not
like
as
you
long
feel
as
a little
3 years.
after.
But one thing I can I understand like a lot with that, and I think people listening is there's a level of like familiarity, obviously comfortability. Like this is not this is separate from the heartache portion of it. Like the heartache is sucks. Like it just does. Everybody goes through it, whether there was, cheating or just loss of feelings or whatever it is that like brings something to an end in somebody's life in a relationship. Like the heartache is one portion of it that you have to kind of work through. And then there's what you're saying of just like the daily life things like, okay, around this time at 10 o'clock, I FaceTimed this person and we were
Yeah,
talking for hours. And, and then at least I know in my own experience, like I typically miss the dreaming aspect of things, like aiming for something with somebody,
yeah,
like the goals like with somebody else, because that's the way I believe God designed us, is to like have somebody to help you and you help bring out the best in them and bring them towards what God has for them. And so when that is lacking, like yeah, of course the heartache part sucks, of course the like overthinking and whatever sucks, but then when it's like you're saying that void of somebody that like, okay, Well, right around this time, I would call them and update them about my day, or you start to see them grow successfully and you're like, wow, I remember being part of that with them and now I'm not. So there's a lot of little things that go on, I think, in the whole complexity of a relationship, whether you've been together a couple months, couple years, couple decades. But I
Yeah.
think for people, watching this or listening, and I know that you have a group of people who follow you that are really invested in who you are and where you're headed. And so when you are relating to somebody and those that are listening, like, I think it's okay to, number one, be honest and vulnerable with people who care about you, because you're not just a grid on somebody's phone. Like, you are somebody that has a voice in some of these people's lives. Granted, there are bots out there that probably don't give a crap, but there's real people. And so I think what's awesome about your story and why I even brought this up was because you shared a little bit about it and was vulnerable with some people on social media, and I was like, wow, that's awesome, because sometimes when you're seeing somebody, on these little grids or your 9 square or whatever people used to do on Instagram, that's like way back in the day, but you're like, wow, Joey's human. This is something that affected his life and now he's doing other things. So even you being honest about buying your truck for yourself and these little things, I think that people need to hear that, and people need to know, like, oh, I'm not alone in that, because Christmas is coming up, New Year's is coming up, all these things that really like affect a person when it comes to their love life is presenting itself. We're going to take a quick break to discuss Write It Down's brand new website. You can head over to widpod.com, widpod.com, and see all the goods. You'll notice a banner at the top of the page that says Learn More. If you click that link, it'll show you how you can support Write It Down. P.S. My favorite part about the website is the Wid Wall, which is a collection of all the Write It Downs from the show. This podcast is made possible by the 1513 Network, so show the network some love and support by listening to their other shows. If not, just stick with Write It Down, because I'm the coolest, the realest, the illest. Now, back to the show. So how would you say that you really kind of like sunk your heels in when it came to the goals you already had set in place? What were some of the things that you had to fight through with that season of your life?
Yeah. So like you said, you do create like these goals, like you talk about your future, you kind of like mentally prepare for a certain future that
Mm-hmm.
you two talked about. But then your whole life kind of changes. Like you realize, okay, that's not going to be the future. Now, what is my future going to be? You kind of have to, reevaluate and adapt. So that's what I did. I just kind of mentally said, okay, that's not going to be it. Now, what are we going to do? How happy were we prior to the relationship, being single? What goals did we have? So just kind of adapting, and then just realizing some of those dreams are still my dreams, but I could just do them by myself. Or obviously, I'm going to find somebody else. Like I know
Right.
there's other people out
There's
there. Like
a bajillion people in the world. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's not like it's over. Like it does feel like that in the beginning. You're like, oh, but like I don't want to have
I
that with
can't see
anybody else.
nobody
Like
else. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Everything
like
is so,
time definitely.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just like emotional. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can't get out of that. Um, but the goals are still the goals. I think just getting myself out of like that sort of like depressed feeling is just getting goals and having a goal, working towards a goal. That ultimately makes me happy, like feeling productive, whether it's in my career or in fitness, like just having something I can work towards. So that's kind of why I wanted to do the marathon, just kind of, adjust and adapt to that. And yeah, that's ultimately pulled me out of talking to people. Like I did talk about it on social media right after it all happened and stuff. And maybe that was a good idea. Maybe that wasn't a good idea. But a lot of people reached out to me and told me their
Oh
stories of
my
like,
gosh. Yeah.
they were there. They were like, I'm glad you posted this. I got a lot of good feedback for the most part, which was good. And I was just being honest. I share all the good stuff in my life. Whenever I'm happy and on vacation, doing all this stuff. So I was like, well, maybe I should share these
Right.
downtimes as well.
Right. And not that you asked for my opinion, but I think it was a good idea, because I look at it again, like kind of like what I said earlier, but I read this thing recently and I could butcher it, but I'm just going to work through it here real time. But it said that suffering isn't an obstacle for God's plan for your life, it's often a vehicle for it. And I loved that because I think sometimes when people suffer or they struggle with something, whether it's a breakup or whether it's cancer or, any sort of like really like heart-wrenching human experience, there's a level of
Yeah.
you with, at least when I walked through like depression and anxiety and things that I never thought I'd ever go through. Cause like my life's pretty great. And I live I have goals and I have a great family. But like when I walked through that, I was like, first of all, what is this emotion and why is it staying? It's not just like a down day. This is like longer. And that, like, really, that little quote that I read past this period of my life when I was like healthier, I was like, wow, that is such the truth, because I did put more goals in place. Talking to people help, because you realize we weren't meant to just do this life alone. And who knows if like your story saves somebody from suicidal thoughts because of their breakup. You have no idea, And so
Yeah.
I think like the being genuine and being, transparent with people is huge. It doesn't mean we air people's dirty laundry or all the drama that's ever been done to us, but like what happened to you is real. And, it was very, very ethically and kindly, spoken about. And I think the fact that people reached out to you, that's the kind of the blessing and the curse of having eyes on you, is people
Yeah.
want to know the nitty gritty of who you are. And that includes the ugly stuff. And so I think you handled that really well. Also, what you said about having new goals and really pursuing them. I think anybody listening or watching should know that they have access to new goals and new targets as well. And they're still allowed to be sad, but you're allowed to pursue things. So
Yeah.
I think it was great. I think you handled
Thank
yourself very, very well. Yes. Let's
you. Yeah.
talk a little bit about your truck. You
Yeah.
got a big boy truck.
I
It's
did.
bougie.
It's
It's
bougie. It's a little.
it's bougie. It's
Yeah.
bougie without being like a handbag. It's a handbag for men.
Yeah.
Put it frankly. But so you had your
Yeah.
car for a long time, which I think is awesome, because a lot of people will go into a ton of debt just to get a nice new car. So tell us a little bit about that journey and just the money you've been saving and just trying to be a good manager of your time and your talent and your money.
Yeah. So I've always been pretty cheap, pretty like money conscious. Like I don't. I feel weird about spending money because I never really had money.
Yeah.
So I've really like, I like saving money. I've always lived with my parents. Even now, like I mean, I'm living out here in Vegas. I'll be living in Philly, but still, my home residence is my parents' house. I've always driven crappy cars. The most I ever spent on a car prior to this truck was $3,500.
Wow.
So I've always been good with money, and now I'm an airline pilot. I have my side business with social media. I'm making pretty good money doing both, and I needed to treat myself. I also got a new boat, which needed something to pull it. you know, I was just it
Ah,
was time.
yeah.
I'm 20. I'm almost 28 years old. I do feel a little bit weird driving around a piece of crap when I did have a good amount of money in the bank. I was just like, all right, it's kind of
Yes,
time for me to just
there's
up.
time. Yes, there's a time for
Yeah.
everything. Can I ask you a question? You can answer this or not, but did you cash flow like your education, or did you have to take out a ton of debt? Because some people have to take out a lot of loans for being a pilot or going to med school. So what did that look like for you? Did you have a plan?
Oh yeah. I didn't take out any debt for my pilot training
Okay.
or college. That I saved my money and I was able to pay for it.
Okay. Nice.
So that was good. This is the first time I've ever gotten a loan in my life
Loan for something is like
was for
financing
this
a
truck.
car. Wow. Dave Ramsey would be proud.
Exactly.
He would be super proud.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. It is a great truck.
And, and
Go ahead.
what? Oh no, I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, you go on.
No, I was just going to say, if people haven't seen it, they need to check it out, because it's a nice truck. I'm not a huge truck gal. I'm not like, whoa, look at that truck, but it is nice. I liked the story that you posted about it, of just like you posted your old car. Because I think, again, we've talked about this on the last episode, and I talk about this a lot on the show, especially with people in our age range, whether they're athletes or pilots or authors or whoever. There's like a remnant of people that I feel like still think the way that former generations thought, and a little more old school. And I think that's really cool that not only do you have physical goals for yourself and career goals, but there's some personal money goals. And I think, besides like Dave Ramsey, and he's, no offense, getting old as dirt compared to our generation, there's not a lot of
Yeah.
people too that are thinking like that. I drove a car that every time I was at a stoplight, the AC went out because it had to cool the engine. And I didn't get this. And I got a new radiator, I got a new water pump, I got a new, like, all the things I needed. And it was just taking so much money from me. And finally, this March, I got a car because I could not, being in real estate, take my car that's leaking oil on everybody's driveway, and I can't cart around clients with something like that. So there is like this time where you're like, okay, like I gotta at least look like an adult while I'm trying to do all these adult things. So I
Yeah.
totally resonate with that. So congratulations. Have you named your truck?
I haven't. I haven't. I almost did like a poll on Instagram to like see what I should name it, but I just haven't named
Oh
it.
my gosh, you should
But
do
I need.
something on Instagram. You know how all these
I,
people do gender reveals? You should do like a name reveal and like shoot it out of the t-shirt shooter or whatever. You should know those people do, or they like throw a dart and the balloon pops with the gender. You should do it for your truck, like just like a name or something. Anyways, you can
I
pay me later.
wasn't
That was a great idea.
for the longest time. I wasn't gonna get a Tesla. Like my whole for the last so many years talking about getting a Tesla, getting a Tesla, getting a
So
Tesla.
you're gonna get a Tesla up
Yeah.
until
Okay.
your
So
truck.
wondering why my whole background changed. Somebody started like a leaf blower or something. Now
It's
we're in a
fine.
different room. So
It's fine.
here we
You'll have to
are.
keep us updated on your neighbors. Yeah, we're super invested now. Okay, so you were
Yeah.
saying that you always wanted a Tesla until you got this truck. I am very, very like thankful. Not that it has anything to do with me, but I can't stand when people get Honda trucks. Those Ridge lines. Have you seen those?
I don't like those.
They look like they're trying to
Yeah.
be like a minivan, but they just cut it off and made it a
Yeah.
truck. It's not a real truck, but anyways, Tesla.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, the Tesla would have a really hard time pulling a boat. And so I was just like, maybe I could get an SUV, maybe I could do this. But once I saw this truck, I just love that GMC Sierra or Sierra Denali.
Okay.
And that's why I went with it.
Okay. And it'll be good for you if you move to Colorado or you're living, out that way for a little more permanent residence. So do you leave your car like at your parents and then you kind of just travel through there? Or do you take it? Like, how does that work? Do you ever drive out to anywhere?
Yeah, either I'll leave it at my parents or I'll just leave it at the airport. Like if I'm working,
Okay. Got
you know,
it.
I
Got
have
it.
a parking pass at the airport, so
Oh,
I'll
that's
just leave
right.
it.
Yeah, y'all don't have to think about stuff like that. Like ever, like people who work for airlines, they don't have to think about like, oh my gosh, like I have to go to, like when we have to think about, okay, do I want to pay an arm and a leg to be in that
Yeah,
nasty parking garage? Or do I want to go to Cargo Road to the North Economy parking lot and pay however much a day? So I forget that you guys all need places to park your car. So do you guys get to park close to the terminal, or do you guys have to park, like, is there a certain area where people park that work for
no,
airlines?
I still park in the economy spot, but I just have a month pass there, so it's $40 a month. So I'm still parking where everybody else is parking out
Wow. They
past or
don't
where
they don't give you like employee of the month parking, like terminal C parking in that bougie new terminal.
I wish.
God,
I wish
awesome. That
they
is the
don't.
dream.
They don't treat us that good, unfortunately.
We were doing like this little comparison thing. My mom and I, we were in Dallas this last weekend, and Dallas airport is like super nice. Like it's huge, and they have all these security checkpoints. There's like 4 people in line at all times. Like it is astounding.
That's nice.
And we're
That is,
like, why Orlando? Like we need to step it up. Orlando is not that great. It's good for us who live close, but it's not like a
yeah.
dream, you know?
No, yeah. spread out. Like you have to take the train everywhere, and now even Terminal C is brand new, but it's like you gotta you gotta drive somewhere completely different. I don't even think it's attached by
It's
one of the
not.
trains.
I don't think
Yeah,
it is either. I think you take, because when I went to Europe this summer, we flew in to Terminal C and then we had to take some sort of like two-part tram train shuttle thing just to get back to the normal place so we can get to baggage claim. It's
yeah,
horrible,
it
but
doesn't
it's
make
pretty. It's nice, whatever, if that counts. But I don't want to take too much of your time because I spent most of this time talking to you about the marathon because I literally love that you're doing that. Least favorite, maybe I've already asked you this, so I'm gonna switch it up. Least favorite genre of music.
Oh, screamo for sure. I can't do screamo.
That's yeah. I mean, there's a small amount of people in the world that I think like screamo.
I have some buddies that like screamo, so no offense,
Really?
but I can't
Yeah,
do
no,
it.
I like rock, but when it's just like straining your voice to scream at me, there's absolutely no motivation in that for me.
Yeah,
Like
it's
that's
mostly like
terrifying.
my friends who just lift heavy.
Yeah,
Like
and it's like
Keon. You know Keon Zakari?
uh-uh.
Oh well, yeah, he's
Is he
super
like that?
jacked. He likes screamo. Yeah, I'm like, dude, I don't know how.
But just like not good music days. I get it. Favorite protein
Yeah.
bar.
Ooh, chocolate chip cookie dough by First Form. Links in
Okay.
my Instagram bio. Free shipping.
Okay.
Buy
Can I
now.
ask this? Does it taste like chalk? The
No,
okay, it doesn't, because that is like the thing that terrifies me about protein bars is like you bite into it and it tastes like chalk.
no. I genuinely like this one a lot. Yeah,
But
it's good.
because you literally linked it, it's like now you can't just say like yeah it tastes like chalk though, but buy it. No, just kidding. So you do
Well,
like
I
it?
work with First.
Yes.
Yeah. They're like for First Form's a sponsor of mine.
Right.
But I like that for flavor. You got a couple other flavors that I'm a huge
For the
fan of,
chocolate
but
chip
that
cookie
is my
dough.
number one.
First Form. Got it.
Yeah,
Never had it.
yeah.
Um, okay. Most desired gift on your Christmas list this year. What do you
Ooh,
really want?
a trolling motor for my boat.
What is that?
That's about it.
A
A
trolling
trolling motor. It's
motor?
like that little like electric trolling motor. Yeah,
Oh,
like it sits up on
wow.
the front of the boat. It's electric. It's like an electric motor. You can use it like
Okay,
sneaky
wait, I have
with
seen that
fish.
before because I saw that. I didn't know what it was
Yeah,
called. I went to that the Fort Lauderdale boat show this last year and I saw somebody in the like expo area have something like that. Okay, so it's called a trolling motor. Can you tell I
trolling
like did
motor.
not grow up on boats, just jet
Yeah,
skis? Okay.
yeah.
Red light, green light, real quick, and then we'll get to write it down. Okay,
Okay.
red light, green light, Crocs.
Red light. It's all
Yeah,
about
no, horrible.
Kane footwear is like the better Croc version or
Canes.
cover. Canes.
Never even heard of that. I've heard of Canes Furniture Store on 192 in West Melbourne. Canes
Yeah,
shoes.
Kane. Yeah, Kane. It's like it kind of looks like a Croc, but it's a more stylish like recovery shoe. You'll have to check them out, but it's pretty
Okay.
sweet.
Okay.
But it's
Red
Croc.
light. What?
Red,
Red light. Okay.
red light.
Red light. Red light, green light. People who get facelifts, lip injections, all that stuff.
It's a tough one. I would
know.
mostly
I
say
know. This
red
is a
light.
hard question.
I would mostly say red light, but whatever makes you happy. You know, if that person is miserable and they're way happier with bigger lips or a tighter forehead, go for it. You know what I'm saying? Whatever makes
Yeah.
you happy, because mental health is huge. And if you look in the mirror every day and you're not happy with the way you look and you want to change that,
So be it.
more power to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got one more. Red light, green light, Kanye West.
Green light.
Green light. Okay. You
Yeah.
can elaborate on that. He's a big topic right now.
Yeah. I mean, he says a bunch of crazy stuff, and he probably does, need to take his medicine sometimes and whatever. But for the most part, let the man say what he's got to say. If he wants to say something, you can either agree or disagree with him. he's not directly hurting people, even though he says maybe some not so smart things sometimes. But I think we need freedom of speech, and we're trying to cancel too many people. And I just rather everyone be able to say what they want to say. If it's false, if it's ridiculous, don't listen to him. I mean,
Right.
you know,
Right.
just don't
Yeah,
listen.
I say green light too. I mean, he does, like you said, I think need help, but who doesn't? And he's in the spotlight, so we can sit there and poke fingers and say this guy needs help. I feel bad because I mean, meme news is not real news, so I haven't really looked into this. But like, there were all these like memes going around that he has to pay 200K a month in child support, and I'm like, he has to pay 200K a month in child support to a billionaire, a fellow billionaire. Like in my brain,
That's
I was just like, that's a lot. The poor guy. That is
yeah,
like
that's
a
insane.
house every month, like for who knows how long.
That's insane.
So yeah, I do feel
I
bad.
he's clearly like a genius.
Mhm.
I mean, he's a billionaire.
Yeah.
Everyone knows his name. You know, whatever.
Yeah.
When you're in the spotlight like that, you're gonna get in trouble. You're gonna say stupid things. You're gonna get a lot of hate. You're gonna get a lot of love.
Yeah.
So green
Give him a little
light,
grace.
Kanye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're here for Kanye. Okay. Now we're at the point of the show where I ask each guest, give the audience something to write down. So Joey Muccio, what is your second? Write it down.
My write it down now is always have a goal. Always have a goal and work towards it. Because I think it will make, if you are struggling with mental health, it definitely helps to always have something that you're working towards. I think as human beings, we always are happier if we are being productive and getting better at something or helping others or just getting closer and closer to a goal. So, yeah, have a goal. You'll wake up happier every day. You'll know what the plan is every day, like, especially with running. Like, I know today I'm running this many miles and I'm doing this specific workout. So, just knowing that gives me something to look forward to every
I
day.
love it. Have a goal. Write it down. Thank you so much, Joey Muccio.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the Write It Down podcast. This podcast is a part of the 1513 network. You can catch a variety of shows on their website, 1513.com. If you enjoy listening to Write It Down, please subscribe, share with your friends, and if there's any ink left in your pen, write a review. For more content, follow the fun on Instagram by following at WIDPOD. That spells WIDPod. It's super cool. Stands for Write It Down Podcast, but it's abbreviated to WIDPod. Anyways, thanks for listening, and we will catch you later.